As you leave here today, remember this: the world will never wait for your perfect moment. It responds to your bold movement. Don't let hesitation rob you of the life that's waiting on the other side of action. You don't need to have it all figured out to take the first step. Start with what you have, move with what you know, and trust that clarity will meet you along the way. Because in the end, it's not the ones who waited, but the ones who moved, who changed their world. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, how many dreams have died quietly under the weight of those 4 innocent words? I'll do it tomorrow. At first they sound harmless, reasonable, even after all, what's one more day, one more sunrise before you start writing the book, making the call, or changing your life. But that tomorrow becomes a thief. It steals potential, buries purpose, and slowly turns today's fire into forgotten ashes. Look around you. The most powerful ideas, the greatest transformations, and the boldest beginnings never waited for permission. They were born in the now. So ask yourself, what if tomorrow never comes? What if later becomes never? And what if the very life you craved is waiting for you to stop delaying and start deciding? Because in the end, your future isn't shaped by your intentions. It's shaped by your actions today. Procrastination often wears the disguise of logic. It tells you it's not the right time, that more research is needed, that you should wait for the perfect conditions before starting. It convinces you that pausing is wise, that delaying is just strategic planning. But beneath that polished excuse lies a deeper, more vulnerable truth: fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough, and sometimes even fear of success. This fear doesn't scream, it whispers, it rationalizes, it sounds responsible, even intelligent. But in reality, it builds invisible walls around action and progress. People don't usually say, "I'm afraid to begin." They say, "I'll do it later." It's more socially acceptable to sound busy than to admit doubt. So we build to-do lists instead of taking steps. We talk about the dream instead of working on it. We research endlessly, tweak plans repeatedly, and analyze outcomes that haven't even happened yet, all while avoiding the uncomfortable truth that we're scared. The logic behind procrastination is comforting. It gives us an illusion of control. It tells us that thinking is equal to doing and planning is as noble as action. But deep inside, we know that it's not movement, it's avoidance. Fear often comes dressed in perfectionism. You tell yourself you'll start once the conditions are ideal, once you're more qualified, more confident, more prepared. But the truth is, those moments rarely arrive on their own. Progress doesn't wait for permission. Confidence doesn't come before the leap. It follows it. And every time you delay, you reinforce the false belief that you're not ready. You train your mind to stay in hesitation rather than momentum. Over time, this creates a pattern, and that pattern becomes your character. You stop trusting your ability to act and instead become addicted to comfort and certainty. Self-doubt plays a powerful role in this loop. You look at the task and quietly question your ability to succeed. What if I mess up? What if I'm not as good as I hope to be? What if others judge me? Rather than face those questions head on, procrastination offers you a convenient escape route. Not today, maybe tomorrow. But tomorrow turns into next week, and next week into next year. Soon, you're not just delaying a task, you're postponing your potential. You're holding back the version of yourself that only exists on the other side of action. Procrastination isn't laziness. It's often a defense mechanism. It's your mind's way of protecting you from emotional risk. But in doing so, it robs you of growth, fulfillment, and the satisfaction of movement. It keeps you mentally busy, but spiritually stuck. The tragedy isn't in what you postpone, it's in what you become while waiting. You shrink, you settle, you disconnect from the urgency of your own calling. And one day, you may look back and realize that what you thought was logic was actually fear in disguise. That the delay you thought was safe actually cost you the very life you were meant to build. Every decision we delay may seem small in the moment. Pushing a task to tomorrow, putting off a phone call, hesitating to apply for that opportunity. But over time, these choices compound in ways we don't always recognize. Like drops of water wearing down stone, each moment of inaction gradually carves out a life that looks far different from the one we were capable of living. It's really the loud, dramatic failures that shape us most. It's the quiet moments of hesitation, repeated day after day, that redirect the course of our future without us even noticing. When we put off decisions, we tell ourselves it's just for now, just a short pause. But the mind adapts to patterns quickly. What starts as a temporary delay can quietly become a permanent habit. And as the days pass, we start to lose our sense of urgency. We become comfortable with waiting, comfortable with wondering, comfortable with living beneath our potential. The hard truth is that delay is not neutral. It is not a pause in time where everything stands still. Delay is movement in the wrong direction. The opportunities we don't seize are taken by others. The ideas we don't act on grow stale. The relationships we neglect lose their spark. Time doesn't freeze for us to catch up. It marches forward with or without our participation. Every delayed decision plants a seed, not just in the world around us, but in our inner life. It whispers to our identity. You are someone who waits, someone who hesitates, someone who doesn't follow through. The more often we delay, the more that identity takes root. And soon we begin to see ourselves not as powerful decision makers, but as people who almost did, who planned to, who meant to. This slowly reshapes our self-image, our confidence, and our capacity to lead ourselves. It doesn't feel like failure at first. It feels like safety. But over time, it becomes a subtle surrender to a life we never chose. The compounding effect of delay is rarely visible in the beginning. It's not just about the missed opportunity today. It's about the 10 doors that might have opened had we walked through the first one. Decisions create momentum. They unlock people lessons and pathways that lead to the next level of growth. But when we delay, we not only stall our current progress, we block future possibilities. What could have been a year of transformation becomes another year of maintenance. And when we know it, we're living a version of life that's smaller, safer, and quieter than the one we were created to experience. We like to think we'll catch up later, that we'll get serious tomorrow. But life doesn't always give us back the moments we waste. Some doors close and never open again. Some seasons pass and don't return. And the greatest loss is not just what we didn't do, it's who we didn't become, because we never moved. The version of us that could have led, created, risked, and inspired slowly fades into the background, replaced by someone who settled for a quieter existence, all because the decision was delayed again and again until it silently became a lifestyle. Later is one of the most deceptive words in the human language. It feels soft, safe, and harmless. It comforts us with the illusion that we still have time, that the door will always be open, that the energy will eventually return, that the opportunity will still be waiting. But what later truly does is rob potential of its urgency. It lulls passion to sleep and traps vision in a cycle of endless preparation without progress. The idea of later is so appealing because it allows us to avoid the discomfort of action while still feeling responsible. We believe we're being wise, patient, even strategic, when in fact we're simply avoiding the courage it takes to act now. Each time we say it later, we unknowingly press pause on a version of ourselves we've never met. The bold version, the disciplined version, the version that leads and builds and risks. That person doesn't live and later, builds and risks. That person doesn't live and later. They are forged in the fire of present action. The dreams we carry don't move themselves. They respond to decisions made in real time. And the longer we wait, the more the dream grows distant, the more the energy fades, the more life fills up with distractions disguised as duties. Eventually, the window closes, not because the opportunity vanished, but because we changed. The hunger, once fierce, becomes faint. The belief, once strong, becomes shaky. And all that remains is a version of you haunted by what could have been. Later tells you you'll start when you're ready. But readiness is almost never a feeling that arrives on its own. It's built through movement, through action, through failing forward. Waiting for readiness is like waiting for the tide to stop. You'll be standing there forever. The mind learns from doing, not from delaying. Every time you act, even imperfectly, you build trust with yourself. But when you consistently postpone, you send a message to your brain that your words don't mean much, that your intentions are weak, that commitment is flexible. Over time, that erodes not just your progress, but your identity. The danger of later is not only in the time you lose, it's in the person you never become. Potential does not live in theory, it lives in action. And every time we delay, we weed that potential in place. It doesn't grow, it doesn't breathe, it just waits, locked in a cage we built with excuses. Some never unlock it again. They get so used to the routine of delay that it becomes their normal. They convince themselves that average is acceptable, that survival is success, and that dreaming is childish. But deep down, they know, they feel the ache, the quiet knowing that there was more, and they buried it under the lie of later. Time is the one resource you can never earn back. Once it's gone, it's gone. And the decisions you delay today create the regret you carry tomorrow. Life rewards those who act, who move, who say yes, even when fear screams no. Because the truth is, later is a myth. All we ever really have is now. Urgency is not about panic or pressure. It is about presence. It's a mindset that recognizes the value of time and the power of a decision made today. When you live with urgency, you strip away distractions and excuses because you begin to see that now is all you truly have. In that awareness, clarity rises. Suddenly, what matters most becomes obvious. The fog of indecision lifts when you realize that waiting doesn't bring wisdom, movement does. Urgency doesn't mean rushing blindly. It means understanding that delayed action often leads to missed opportunities. When someone embraces urgency, they stop asking what if and start saying what now. The person who acts today may not have all the answers, but they will gain something far more valuable than certainty. They will gain momentum. And with momentum comes direction, action. Even imperfect action produces feedback. It teaches, guides, and sharpens your vision. The moment you take the first step, new doors begin to open. People notice, resources shift, energy builds. While others are still waiting for the right time, you're already building a foundation. And in that process, you begin to understand things you couldn't see from the sidelines. There is something about forward motion that reveals both your strength and your calling. Urgency is not reckless, it is responsible. It respects time, talent, and purpose by not letting them rot in the realm of someday. Clarity isn't born from overthinking, it's born from experience. And experience only comes from engagement. Urgency pulls you into the arena. It says, you may not be ready, but you're willing. That willingness becomes a weapon against fear. The moment you act, fear begins to lose its grip. Confidence grows, not from theory, but from trying, failing, learning, and trying again. Those who wait for clarity before they move often remain stuck in cycles of hesitation, over analyzing every possibility. But those who act in urgency understand that clarity comes with each new step. The fog clears as you move forward, not before. Confidence is built like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And the easiest way to build it is to do the thing you said you would do. When you act immediately on an idea, a conviction, or a goal, you send a message to your mind, I am someone who follows through. Over time, that message becomes your belief system. You start trusting yourself. You stop waiting for outside validation because you've developed inner reliability. You become your own source of momentum. Living with urgency doesn't mean living in constant hustle. It means refusing to waste what you've been given. It means realizing that the clock is ticking not in fear but in favor. Because there's still time to do what you're called to do, but only if you start now. Urgency quiets the noise of comparison and procrastination. It centers your attention on what is in front of you and invites you to take the next step without needing all the steps to be visible. In doing so, it builds a life of progress, confidence, and purpose that cannot be accessed by those who choose to wait. The world doesn't pause to check if you're ready. It doesn't hold its breath while you wait for the perfect moment, the right mood, or the absence of fear. The world moves fast, constantly, and without apology. And those who wait to feel ready often find themselves left behind, watching others succeed, not because they were more talented or more prepared, but because they moved. Bold movement doesn't ask for permission. It interrupts hesitation, confronts fear, and announces, I'm here and I'm willing. It's not recklessness, it's resolve. It's the refusal to sit on the sidelines of your own life, hoping the stars will align. It's choosing to take the first step even when the path is unclear, even when you're unsure if you'll succeed, even when your heart is pounding. The truth is, readiness is often a myth we tell ourselves to delay action. It gives fear a mask of wisdom and procrastination, the appearance of patience. But in reality, most breakthroughs, opportunities, and transformations, those who step out before they feel fully equipped. Movement creates momentum. The moment you take a step, any step, you begin a chain reaction. You learn, you adapt, you build, and most importantly, you grow. Waiting doesn't make you wiser, it makes you stagnant. The bold move doesn't guarantee success, but it guarantees growth. And that growth is what ultimately positions you to win. The world responds to those who take themselves seriously enough to try. It opens doors not for those who hesitate, but for those who dare. The act of showing up shifts the atmosphere. It draws attention, attracts support, and invites opportunity. People notice initiative. They respond to courage. They rally around vision. You become magnetic not by waiting until you're perfect, but by moving with purpose while you're still imperfect. That movement, raw, authentic, and sometimes messy, is what inspires others, what earns trust, what separates leaders from dreamers. You don't find your calling by sitting still. You discover it in motion. Each decision to move, to act, to try becomes a brushstroke in the painting of your purpose. Bold movement builds resilience. It teaches you how to navigate failure, how to adapt in real time, and how to lead even when the outcome is uncertain. The ones who make the greatest impact aren't the ones who had it all figured out from the start. They're the ones who showed up, who took the risk, who failed and still kept going. The world bends not to those who wait, but to those who push forward and make room for themselves at the table. So many dreams die in the graveyard of almost ready. So many lives go unlived because the fear of failure silenced the courage to begin. But when you choose bold movement, you step into a different reality, one where action creates answers, where effort creates access, and where momentum becomes your greatest teacher. The world doesn't reward passive potential. It rewards the brave, the bold, the ones who understand that life doesn't wait, and neither should you. The idea of waiting until you're ready is one of the most seductive traps that keeps people stuck. It whispers promises of safety, certainty, and timing that never truly align. But the reality is, readiness is not a destination. It's often a disguise worn by fear. The world isn't looking for those who have every detail figured out. It's watching for those who are willing to move anyway. Life is built by those who understand that action precedes clarity and bold movement creates momentum that hesitation never will. You don't discover your capability by thinking about it. You uncover it by stepping into moments that test and stretch you. It's in the act of showing up, not having all the answers, where confidence begins to grow and direction starts to appear. Movement breeds energy, and energy draws opportunities. The moment you start, the atmosphere around you begins to shift. People notice those who act. Resources align. Favor finds motion. Every success story is marked by a moment when someone decided to take action before they felt fully qualified. They leapt while others lingered. They moved forward without the guarantee of applause, certainty, or perfection. And it's that movement that caused the ground to rise beneath their feet. Waiting for readiness creates the illusion that there is a magical moment when everything will align, when fear will disappear, and when you will feel completely capable. But that moment never truly arrives. Growth is the result of action, not its prerequisite. The world doesn't respond to potential alone. It responds to those who express that potential through bold decisions. Fear and doubt never fully leave, but they shrink in the presence of forward motion. You don't eliminate fear before you move, you shrink it by moving anyway. Bold movement isn't reckless. It's responsible. It's taking what you have where you are and making a decision to build. It's the refusal to let comparison, insecurity, or uncertainty paralyze your potential. Every step forward, no matter how small, creates a ripple. It unlocks strength you didn't know you had, and awakens vision you hadn't seen before. The world is not waiting for your perfection. It's waiting for your presence. It's waiting for your voice, your work, your effort. There are doors that will only open for the person who has the courage to knock, not the one still rehearsing what they'll say if someone answers. Action validates desire. It proves to yourself and to others that you're not just dreaming, you're doing. You don't need full clarity to begin. You need conviction. You need belief in the value of your contribution, even when no one's clapping yet. You need the courage to fail, to learn, to adapt, and to keep moving. Because in the movement, you begin to see differently. You become sharper. You earn experience. You build credibility. The world takes note of those who refuse to wait for permission and instead walk in purpose. Bold movement doesn't guarantee instant success, but it guarantees progress. And progress compounds into transformation. Those who move now, while others wait, position themselves to lead tomorrow. Because while the rest are waiting for readiness, the bold are already building. So as you leave here today, remember this: the world will never wait for your perfect moment. It responds to your bold movement. Don't let hesitation rob you of the life that's waiting on the other side of action. You don't need to have it all figured out to take the first step. Start with what you have. Move with what you know. And trust that clarity will meet you along the way. Because in the end, it's not the ones who waited, but the ones who moved, who changed their world. Thank you.